Welcome to the Rooted Lounge, where we break down the 3 core relationships that shape everything about your life as a mom. Your relationship with yourself, your partner, and your kids. We're Monica and Michelle, therapists turned mom coaches, and we know firsthand that motherhood isn't just diapers and to-do lists. It's an identity shift that touches every part of who you are. This ain't your mama's motherhood. Here, we mix real mom talk, a little humor, and a lot of truth to help you feel more grounded, connected, and fully alive in your life as a mom. So grab your coffee, hide in the bathroom if you have to, and let's get into today's conversation. Hey everyone, welcome back. So in today's episode, we are going to be talking about little shifts that changed everything in our homes. So we want to talk about how small things can really create like a huge emotional and relational impact. So we are going to just go ahead and dive right in.
Yeah, I think we should start more with our personal examples. I think to be a little bit more raw and open about what those look like for us, and then how they've created kind of this bigger transformation. And as I was thinking about this, we always say what's the biggest one for each of us individually, and I think for me it was really about lowering my expectations in a lot of different ways, not just about my to-do list or what I had intended to do for this week, but kind of just the expectations of my partner, my children, my parents, my friends, you know what I mean? Just kind of the expectation of how much I was giving, but then how much other people were kind of giving to me too. And so, and not lowering because we don't value certain things, but because I would get so worked up when things weren't getting done, or I don't know, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but the first thing I think of is things not getting done or people not doing certain things. And I was like, okay, let's roll, let's roll it back, because it's creating way more stress and havoc in our home when we have these expectations that we're going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. I ditto that. I think that lowering expectations was probably one, if not the biggest shift that I also made. Because to start off my motherhood journey, I was absolutely trying to be the perfect mom. I was trying to do it all, just these kind of picture perfect type of ideas, and honestly, I enjoyed a lot of the stuff that I was doing, but so it was interesting because I did very much enjoy what I was doing, but I also just couldn't keep up with that same kind of pace.
Yep.
So I think that was a really tough shift for me, because I wanted to keep doing that, and then I was like, okay, but you can't. You have to.
Right.
You have to know where to kind of pull back, or
set your priorities. That was the one word that just came to mind. When we're lowering those expectations, what is our priority? And we've talked about this in other episodes, but what is our priority based on what we want, not based on what everybody thinks we should be doing, right? So I don't know, another example that comes to mind is laundry, right? We all have to do laundry, but do you have to do laundry on Sunday? Do you have to do laundry on Wednesday? Can you do a couple loads? Can you maybe not do laundry for 2 weeks? And maybe that's just our family. We have too many clothes, but I do not do laundry on a weekly basis because I just don't have the mental capacity to do so, and I think that is something that a lot of people do, which, okay, please wash your clothes. But we just don't have to do it. And I wasn't going to be oh, today is laundry day, and then spend my whole day doing it, folding it, and then what, my whole day's gone because I've done, 25 million loads of laundry. So the way that I do it is I do it every 2 weeks, but then I also break it up, so my expectations are a little bit lower, but yes, we don't have clothes, I'm going to prioritize it, but
Mhm.
I'd rather prioritize other things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, laundry is one of those things too for me where we we wash every week, but there's definitely weeks that we leave it in the basket without folding for for a little too long.
My clean non-folded laundry is always just
Or we'll have it we'll wash and fold quickly, but then it'll sit in the basket and then we don't put it anywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's another like really big thing for me that I remember very, very early on after having my first, where I was always someone who pre-mom, I was very structured and very on top of like when I do my chores and all the things. And that was a huge shift for me to be like, okay, like you literally can't keep up like this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your life has changed and you can try to keep going in the way that you were pre-baby, but you're gonna like burn yourself out. And I was starting to feel that, so I definitely had to make some changes. um, so I think another thing for me too that and this took a little bit longer. I'm trying to think of like how long it took. um, Probably honestly like the first couple or few years where it was really starting to come to the surface more and become more evident that we needed to do this um, was our communication, like me and my husband's communication.
Yeah,
where
for sure.
and like we already had a good foundation of communication, but we didn't realize that we just had to shift it in order to um, really like mold it to the changes of bringing a child into the picture.
Yeah.
So one thing that I talk about all the time with people, you know, that are transitioning into like parenthood and stuff, I always encourage couples to over communicate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of resistance around that. Like a lot of resistance where people are like, well, that just seems unnecessary, or like why do I have to like do XYZ? And I'm like, again, like what's the alternative if you don't? Because what ends up happening is people will under communicate. They're not even like doing their baseline communication. They end up under communicating. And it turns into so many conflicts, so much tension, a lot of resentment ends up building.
Yeah.
So, we ended up, I'll give you an example. We ended up going like with the over communication route where, for instance, like we would just kind of like let each other know like where we would be in the house if we were going into a different area. So like, for instance, my husband would be like, hey, just pop it into the basement real quick. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because for me, like, let's say I was in the baby's room and I don't know, she had a blowout or something and I needed help and I had no idea that he was downstairs in the basement.
Yeah.
I would have been like, hello.
Yeah, like where are you?
Where are you?
Yeah,
why are you coming?
Sure. Yes, no, absolutely.
So we always went with the over communication route, and I get that might not work for everyone, but it works great for us.
No, I think
still does.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And like just kind of knowing like, because we do it in a little bit of a different way. Like my husband works from home 3 days a week, and so like I just kind of like know where he is, but we're really, really big on like timing of like when he's going to be home or when I'm going to be home, when I'm leaving the house, especially if we're both working like from home. And so then that also helps how we navigate our son as well. And then, I mean, obviously it's going to, help significantly when we have the second baby as well. So we talk about that a ton and communicate that pretty significant. I love that. I think that's great because how would you know? And honestly, like that's like if I kept being like, hello, babe, where are you? And nobody was answering, I would have freaked out.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've had conversations with people where they're like, well, it just seems like unnecessary. It seems like we're just so on top of each other and like in each other's business, or like, where some people even are like, it just feels like very controlling. And I don't know, I just don't see it in that way at all, because for us, it has been super, super helpful and really effective.
Right. And instead of being in crisis and that happening and then it turning into something that it didn't need to turn into, right? No, I think that's a great one.
Yeah. So, and I think another one for me was also, given that I had such a perfectionist kind of mentality around motherhood, that I really struggled with asking for help, like really struggled. Not with my husband, but with like anyone else besides him.
Sure.
Where I would, just like not want to ask people to babysit or really anything. Like I just really took everything on myself. And it took me a long time to get to a place where I was like, okay, like this is not a one-person job, like, or even a two-person job. Like we can ask for help. We have support. Like,
sure,
we can ask.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. And even more so when you have, definitely when you have one kid, but when you have 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
I think that need almost increases the more kids you have.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more that I want to mention, that's actually newer for actually both me and my husband. And this little shift has actually been so helpful, not just for our son, but for us, where we try to slow down so much that in a way of like, if we don't want him to do something, obviously if it's like safety related, that's a very different story. But if it's like, we don't want him to make a mess, we really shift the way that we enter into that space with our son, because most of the time he's being a kid and he's exploring and he's wanting to learn new things. And like, just because we're not in the state of being able or wanting to do that, like it's not really about us, like it's about him. And that's actually something that my husband started doing, and then I've it's a lot harder for me to do it, but I've just tried to slow myself down a little bit more to be able to give him the freedom of just cracking an egg and getting shells in my eggs in the morning, right? Like oh, I have to go so fast, and it's like I can just pick out the eggs, or maybe I just don't use that egg. Like it's really okay.
Yep.
And that's just a silly example, but we've kind of adapted that shift over time, and that's been super helpful.
Yeah. No, yes, that's I have a lot of these. Yeah. Where that was another one that was super big for me. My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law are like super crafty, and they love doing arts and crafts. And I didn't really grow up doing that kind of stuff, like in school, but not at home. So the thought of like Play-Doh, slime, painting, it was like my worst freaking nightmare.
Yeah, for sure. It takes more time to break it down than you do to set it up. Yeah.
And that took me a long, long time to be like, okay. I used to be like, you can do this at your grandmother's house. But I was like, oh my gosh, like once I started making all these changes and having these like realizations, I was like, what am I doing? Like I am like essentially taking something away from them that they can experience.
Right.
So
just based on our own stuff, not based on them at all.
Yeah. So like now it's a regular thing to be doing painting or whatever. Like, of course, you got to put a mat down and do all the things.
Yep. When my son was painting his pumpkins this year, I literally put him in our dog like bath outside. And so he was like, I'm painting in the bathtub. And I was like, yes, you are outside. Because, and he was like, had a diaper on. And I was like, have at it, bro. But, and again, even though it takes maybe us a long time to get to the point where we're maybe like 100% okay with these shifts, like, I wasn't going to do that in my house. Mm-hmm. And I'm also the same way. Like, I'm not going to like clean off my entire dining room table for my 3-year-old to like, you know, paint on my, my table. Mm-hmm. And then I know he's only going to do it for 5 minutes. So like, I'll take out one color, right? Yeah. So like those I think are the, even though it's taken us a long time, like I just said, to kind of get to these places, like how do you increase that tolerance and do those smaller things so that that shift ends up being a small shift, because it isn't kind of these grand things. Like those are really small. It's just like the way in which you do them.
No, and that's such a good point too. And I think for me, I'm thinking of it in terms of like, for me personally, none of these things were overnight like changes. Right. It took me time. Yeah. For some of these things, like years to get to a place where I was actually doing it differently. Yeah. Like naturally. Yeah. But you
didn't just get there. Like you had to do those smaller things to get yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. I had to make these small little changes, and I had to keep reminding myself that like, what's the cost of me continuing to do it my way, you know? Yeah. And I really recognized that like I wasn't helping myself out, and I wasn't helping anyone else out either. So I was like, okay, I really have to make these changes. You know?
Yeah. And that actually, I think, is a good like segue into like energy management versus like time management. Yeah. Because I know for myself, a lot of the times when it's kind of chaotic in the home, I mean, I guess it is kind of based on energy and time, but if I'm trying to break it down more, like I feel like our energy is way more important than time. And again, like slowing down and providing that space is just so much more important. Just because I've seen the results of that happening. Because we base so much on time. I don't have time for this, or you know, we have to leave in 30 minutes. We're not going to do this, right? And so it's all based on kind of like these, I don't know,
rigid,
like moments in time, that like we have to be out of the house by this time. Oh, we can't start this at this time. We're rushing to get breakfast, so you can't put a waffle in the toaster. Like, I don't know. I think we're so quick to, that being like the underlying reason why these shifts don't happen.
Yeah.
Versus it being kind of energy based.
Yeah. And kind of on that same note, where my head was going with it was how you can be like super rigid about how you're thinking about it. So, oh, you're asking me to do this now? Well, we don't have time. So nope, we're not doing it. And that's it. Like, instead of giving an alternative option, like, oh,
so good,
well, because we have 10 minutes and not 30,
what can you do?
Like, what can we do instead of these 10 minutes? So that I think takes a lot of practice to be able to get to that.
But that's a great shift though. Like that's the alternative. That's the small piece of this kind of bigger kind of concept.
Yeah.
And actually the example that I would like to give is I have my junk drawer, because I feel like everybody has a junk drawer, but like it has like this small pad of paper, stickers, and I have a pencil, like just like a regular pencil. And yeah, like when I'm kind of like, all right, how do we fill this time? Because he's not in that space yet where he, you know, asks me to do like those types of things. But I want him to be exposed to it. So like he'll stand up on the counter and I'm like, okay, we only have 10 minutes. I don't need him to be like following him or me around or whatever. Like, again, time. I just give that to take it out of my junk drawer and put it in there. And like he ends up being super occupied and loving it, and playing with stickers and whatever for 10 minutes, right? Like that's the alternative versus like, I want to play with Play-Doh and that's going to take an hour. You know?
Yeah. And you're just like, nope, hard no. And now you just have to sit there and wait until we
go do or whatever we have to do. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think too, like going back to the time versus energy type of stuff, you know, we talked about that in a previous episode too, where um, I think that that's a really important mindset shift, right? And to really reframe the way that you think about time, because time is really kind of subjective. It's like how everyone has the same 24 hours a day.
I was just going to say that.
You know,
Yeah.
and what you do with your time is, it just, I don't know, I feel like it changes so drastically when you have a family, because me and my husband joke all the time. We're like, what did we used to do with our time before we had kids? Because I remember being like, oh my God, there's never any time for anything. And I'm like,
what?
The amount of time I would sit on the couch, like just binge watching TV or like all the other things we used to do. And I'm like, wow, how we can actually utilize time now and really stretch it, because I think you're being so much more intentional about how you're using your time, you know? But for me, I always like to talk about time instead of talking about it as time. I like to talk about it as energy, because energy is definitely like how you show up, like what energy are you bringing into something. But I think it's also like the energy that you, like, again, it's not the oh well, I don't have time, or when I find the time. It's like, no, you have to create it, because you are deliberately choosing to spend your energy on this thing, you know?
Right.
So
right. And I think that definitely plays into so much of making those shifts and being intentional with the energy. And also, like, how do you maybe it's still that like feeling of, you know, not wanting your house to be a mess or something because of it. And we're using crafts as an example because that is like the messiest thing ever, other than like blocks. But that, like, how can you also pre-plan and put your energy and time into that place that's like, okay, like maybe we don't do this and we do this instead, so that they can have this amount of time doing this in any given day, and like it being more of a tweak prior to it being in the moment, being like, we can't do that, or no, or whatever.
Yeah. Again, just like going from being super rigid to being more flexible, and how that just really shifts, like, again, the energy and the mood. Because when you're constantly like no, or rushing, or like whatever, just like frantic all the time, like that, no one's gonna feel the warm and fuzzies at all, going through your day. But if you're like, yeah, sure, hey, whatever, and not to say that you have to be like completely aloof and just like, but there is a lot of fluidity in how you can do it, and it doesn't have to be this like all or nothing or black and white kind of way of going about it. So and I think too, for to go along with everything that we're saying here, I think a really important piece that I want to note is that, like, yes, it's about these little shifts and how they can make your life easier, and how when you're using your energy in a more constructive way, like how that ripples into everything else that you're doing, and how you're interacting with other people. But I think when you're really thinking about, like, how can I not only be patient with myself, but or rather with my kids, but how can I be patient with myself? Like, how can I give myself grace? Again, tying this to like the perfectionist type of stuff, and these really rigid expectations. Like, along with that, it can be like, oh well, I didn't do that project that I wanted to do, and it didn't come out exactly how I wanted it to. Or, man, I was intending to, I don't know, take the kids to whatever activity, and now we can't, or whatever it might be. But being like, it's okay. Like, we tried our best, or maybe we just things didn't work out the way that they you wanted them to, but like everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. And just being really compassionate with yourself that we don't need to look like these lovely Pinterest boards. And hey, if that's your thing, have at it, you know, because there are definitely times where I'm like, I would love to do that. And then I like am realistic with myself and I'm like, no. Like, no. I love decorating. Like, that's just an example. I love decorating. I love doing all these things. But am I going to have paper scattered all over the place? Are there going to be shoes everywhere? Are there going to be, you know, my kids' toys everywhere? Yep.
Yeah. No, I think that's, permission to not have a Pinterest home. You know?
Because you can have, like, you can feel at peace. Now, yes, is decluttering helpful for anxiety? For sure. Are most people less anxious when they have less things? Totally. However, if your children are, you know, their playroom is supposed to be messy, right? Yes, pick it up every once in a while, but like, if you watching your kids play and just be open and whatever brings you peace, allow it to look like that. Clean it up at the end of the night, you know? You don't have to clean it up every time they play with something, right? Which I feel like is always something that we were taught. It's like, play with one thing, put it away. Like, no, play with everything and then we'll put it all the way together, you know? Like, I don't know. That's just the way that I look at something like that. That it doesn't, you don't have to play with one thing, put it away, take another thing, put it away. I mean, I'm sorry, like I don't put all my stuff away. And I'm an adult. Like, no, which is again maybe a terrible trait. I don't know.
No, again, it's all about what works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it works for you, then you're going to feel good about it.
Right.
And
totally.
It's not going to be kind of like nagging you in your head of like, oh God, like this isn't happening the way I wanted to, or the way, you know, it's like, no, just do what works for you. Carry on.
I don't know. This might be a little bit off tangent, but I don't know if you've seen those videos where they're talking about like, you know, like bedroom versus living room, like playrooms type of thing, where like we always play like in our bedroom and like all your toys would be in our bedroom, but now we're like a living room home. And I see those videos a lot. And again, it's just kind of like the way that I think our generation is just shifting that like our toys are in sight, like our toys, our kids' toys are in sight, not kind of tucked away and you have to go to your room and play with it, right? And so I think that also kind of just brings a different level of what shifting needs to look like for us, because we grew up in this like really tidy home, potentially, right? With our toys all in one space. And now like that's just not what people's homes look like. So I feel like I could probably go on and on about that, but I think it goes to the point of making those shifts, because we didn't grow up that way. You know, my toys were in like one section. My son's toys are in like 6 different parts of my house.
And that also makes me think about what you said, and then what I just said about, you know, just do what works for you, is again, like follow or create a system that works for you. Not because you found it on Pinterest, not because you know that, oh, this is what your friends do or whatever. Like if it's easier for you to pack your kids' lunches in the morning, then do that. If it's easier for you to do it at night, then do that. You know, like just follow whatever works for you, because you're the one that has to do it. And if it doesn't work for you, then you're going to do it begrudgingly, or you're, you know, going to get really irritated and snap at people, whatever. So this is the whole idea, is find systems, find structures that work for you and your family, and don't do it because you think you have to do it, because this is how other people are doing it, and or you know, whatever it is, you know. So
I'm not going to go into it because I'll just go off on tangents, but I'm thinking of something that happened earlier this week with a family member of mine. And I could totally, again, see the, like, this is something that would, like, bother somebody else. For me, I'm just like, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't bother, like, this doesn't bother me. And this isn't something that I have to give my energy to, because it doesn't really make a difference for me. And so kind of going to your point of really tuning in to those things that really work for your family. And if you don't necessarily know what those are, start small. Does it work? Does it not work? Right?
Test little things out here and there. And too, what just popped into my head was I feel like a lot of what we've been talking about today is, like be flexible, be fluid and that sort of thing. But also, if you know that you really don't want to do something or you really do want to do something and that differs from maybe how other people think about it, do it your way.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
so what you just mentioned to me just made me think of something where, like, for instance, yes, I have become more flexible with doing arts and crafts in my home, but before I got there, I was okay with that being that can happen at your grandparents' house. And like, that was kind of like the middle ground for me where, like, that's okay. It's okay for it not to be our thing.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I don't
and not everything has to be our thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have to be this kind of mom, or like this certain activity doesn't have to be like something that I do with you. Like, that's okay if that's your grandmother's thing.
Yeah, I love
that's
that.
Like your grandmother and you, or your aunt and you.
It might end up being more special that way too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, so I love that. Yeah, that just popped in. But I think overall we're really trying to encourage you to start small and really try to notice. We always need to start with awareness, right? So maybe just start noticing, like, where do things feel really rigid? Where do I feel a lot of resistance? And maybe that's where you start, right? Is like, start with one tiny little shift. You do not need to do this massive, like, kind of overhaul. Just one little aligned shift. And then once that feels really good, you build on top of that. Yeah. And then you keep going until you get to a place where you're like, like, this feels really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that. Amazing. I think that was a great way to close the episode. Amazing. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you next time.
See ya.